Hey, Andrew.
Yes, Steven?
You know how we romanticize the days of going out to our local video store and sifting through endless amounts of movies, searching for our favorite films, and maybe even finding some hidden gems?
Oh yes, I know it all too well. That used to be my favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, everything is online now.
Well, what if I told you that there was a place online where you could get some of them same thrills as going to the video store?
Are you talking about Orbit DVD?
I knew you knew what I was talking about. Orbit DVD is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and online with OrbitDVD.com, they bring you everything your physical media heart desires.
Yeah, they have an awesome website that stays up to date with the latest releases from all of your favorite boutique labels as well as studio releases. Not only do they carry American labels such as Criterion Collection, Severin Films, Vinegar Syndrome, and Warner Archive, but they get routine shipments on imports from companies such as 88 Films, Arrow Video, Imprint, and so much more.
And with the option to sell or trade your used copies for cash or store credit, they really bring that video store vibe to you. So go to OrbitDVD.com and stock up on your Blu-rays.
And tell them Chasing Labels sent you.
Chasing Labels, 62, welcome. I just wanted to change it up. I don't know why.
Sound like a robot.
I know.
There.
Welcome to Chasing Labels, episode 62. I am Steven Billings, and with me is your other host, Andrew Kerbal. How are you doing?
Good. Speaking in binary.
Yeah.
In binary terms, I guess. We're doing good. Well, I'm doing good. I don't know how you're doing.
I'm doing good. The babies, everybody's doing good over here. You know,
fantastic.
She's getting chunkier and chunkier every day because
nice.
You know,
we are about halfway through August of 2022, and I feel like August is moving a lot faster than July. I don't know if that's just the way Augusts move, or if it's that whole. I don't know if you ever get this, Steven, but I still get that same anxiety I used to get when I was a kid during summer vacation, where it's August and the summer is starting to wane down, and you can feel school and fall around the horizon, and you get nervous with the anticipation because you
feel that
trying to squeeze out like the last remnants of freedom.
I don't feel that anxiety for something that isn't coming.
Yeah, do you remember it though?
No. Well, I guess I remember knowing that, and it wasn't anxiety, but just a feeling of dread because that, you know, I didn't want to I didn't want to go to school. You know, that
very true.
That was really what it was. But
you know what I think it is for me is because I went to school for so long into my adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, with college and stuff, that anxiety was a recurring thing every year until into my 20s.
Yeah.
You know, even into up until I was like nearly 30. And it's like, so that anxiety stayed with me for so long that it's still lingering.
I get excited for the end of the summer because it's closer to cooler weather, and I prefer cold weather.
I already see the memes of the people looking forward to cooler weather, warmer clothes, hot beverages, Halloween.
My power bill
leaf changing.
should go down a little bit.
Indeed. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about movies, or at least Blu-ray announcements and things like that. So this is Spy number 62, as Steven has said. And we're back this week with what looked like to be a slower week until things started popping up.
Yeah.
Little fireworks.
Yeah, one of our announcements this week, of course, the Arrow Shaw Brothers Volume 2 set. I don't know if this was initially supposed to come out. This
it was planned or not.
I don't know that it was planned for this week, but I think it got leaked, and I think Arrow, of course, just was like, well, I guess we got to announce it this week.
Let's roll.
Yeah,
let's roll with it. Let's do this thing. I mean, you might as well, because we all knew that this was coming sometime this year. Yeah. They even teased it in the Volume 1 box set. They put a little flyer in there about upcoming Arrow titles. I mean, we've heard through the grapevine that there's going to be multiple more sets of this because they've got plenty of Shawscope films in the catalog. And yeah, we're going to get into all of it. It's another 14 movie set. We'll save that for the grand finale.
Okay.
Because that's the big one. When that dropped a couple of days ago, people got a little excited. Then they had the official announcement on Friday, and it's good stuff, really really good stuff. But we'll probably start off a little slow and then build up towards it. So Stephen, what are the couple of these smaller things or the individual things that we've got cooking this week?
Well, let's bring up one. This one actually was kind of brought up. I guess you could say in a sense it was an exclusive, but we didn't think about it at the time as being one because, we were just so at all by the guest. We had Eddie Muller on some episodes a couple months ago, and he had mentioned that they were going to be putting out a release of the 1953 film, The Black Vampire, a.k.a. El Vampire and Vampiro Negro.
Yes.
So now it's officially being announced for November 1st, and this film is it's a remake of Fritz Lang's M, with a kind of supernatural vampire twist. I have not seen this, but I had heard of it even before Eddie had brought it up.
We heard about it when he talked about it.
Well, I'd heard of it before that. But
I had it.
Yeah, I'd heard about this film, but I still haven't seen it. So this could be my chance. This is Flicker Alley, and the Film Noir Foundation and UCLA Film Television Archive worked on this.
It was like a tandem restoration type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a lost film noir classic,
Yeah.
apparently. This is coming out November 1st. The pre-orders are up now on FlickerAlley.com. The Flicker Alley releases are a little more expensive than a lot of the other releases that we talk about here. Certainly some of the releases that we'll talk about in this episode. But they're worth it because these films are, for the most part, kind of long-lost treasures, if you will.
Yeah.
That are not really, have had great track records when it comes to their quality on home media or their quality in terms of, archiving and things like that. So luckily these films still exist. And, as Eddie Muller talked when he was on here and as he's talked about many, many times, film restoration and all that kind of stuff is super important. So this is something I'm definitely looking forward to. I still have to get the other releases from Flicker Alley and the Film Noir Foundation as well. They have a couple of releases together. We talked about one that came out when he was on, and I still have to get that release.
Yeah.
These releases they're not tough to get, but they're important. I think I like their setup. I got to get more Flicker Alley in the collection in general.
Yeah, me too. I don't even know if I have any. I might have maybe one release, but
I don't think I have any myself. Yeah. I've been wanting to get a lot of their Charlie Chaplin stuff for years.
Yeah.
Well, they had one Charlie Chaplin box set. I think it was the Mutual Comedies. Chaplin's Mutual Comedies. That was the first time I ever heard of Flicker Alley, and I've always kind of wanted that set. But the set that it was the Guilty and High Tide.
Yeah, that was the
two-pack.
two.
That's what the one that he talked about when he was on. Yeah, and then the Chaplin Mutual Comedies have been available since 2014. That's how long Flicker Alley's been in my mind. And it's like, damn, it's like 2014.
What am I doing with my life?
So long ago. What was that, 8 years now?
Yep.
Damn.
Slacking.
Damn, 8 years behind on collecting stuff.
Slacking.
Surprise, surprise. But yeah, that's a cool release. But a couple of other things, Steven. I know Mondo Macabro had a couple of movies announced this week. We don't talk a lot about Mondo Macabro. They always release things kind of here and there, but they're a great small company. And they've got, I think, 3 releases. The Other Side of the Mirror, The Horrible Sexy Vampire, and then Love Brides of the Blood Mummy. Great title.
I love that title.
Yeah, and they're all getting brand new 4K restorations. Love Brides of the Blood Mummy has 2 versions of the film are being released. You get an audio commentary on each film. And interviews and stuff. It looks really, really interesting, these releases. I love the cover art for a lot of them as well. Yet again, Mondo Macabro is another company that I don't think I have anything from.
There, it's when we started the podcast, we were actually, it gave us the opportunity since we were focusing on boutique labels, to really start getting into more boutique labels. Thing is it's growing more and more all the time. More are popping up, and we're of course, we're broadening as much as we're financially able to. And there are other companies that do similar types of films that I have invested in, like Severin or even Vinegar Syndrome. And it's hard to always be able to get a chance to branch out, but it's all about doing your homework. If you can try to find a way to watch the movies, and maybe some Mondo Macabro should come. Maybe you guys can suggest some Mondo Macabro that I should pick up, or Andrew should pick up. So I know where to start, because I haven't gotten any other stuff. So
yeah, very true. Also, we've had many guests talk about Mondo Macabro, bringing them up kind of organically in conversation, about mentioning them as a company and the people who run it and their releases in general. So they're obviously well known.
They're definitely well respected in the community.
Yeah, well respected. But these all look fascinating to me. I think the other side of the mirror is a ghost story, and obviously we're getting a ghost story, we're getting a vampire movie, and then
a sexy vampire movie.
Sexy. Can't forget that. I can't forget that. But maybe not all of them.
I was gonna say not all vampires.
Sexiness and vampires seem to go hand in hand.
Typically, there's a sexual element, but not always.
Yeah, the whole idea of blood sucking and seduction and all that kind of stuff is very sexual in nature.
Yeah.
And that seems to always go hand in hand. But the Blood Mummy one is I think another one where mummies are coming. A mummy comes back from the dead and is preying on young people for it to stay alive.
Love it.
It seems to be a thing. When things come back from the dead, they like to suck the life out of the living in order to stay alive. It seems to be a thing.
It says that. Well, I'm looking at the horrible, sexy vampires. It says it's notorious for its frequent scenes of nudity.
Oh, shocking!
Great.
Shockingly so. Shockingly so. But yeah, these are all getting, like I said, good extras packages, or at least a few extras here and there. So that's really, really cool. But anything else, Steven, that you wanted to go into?
No other little tidbits. So let's get into our bigger slates here.
Yes.
Let's start with Kino.
I was going to say, Kino seems to be the place to go, because we've been neglecting him a little bit.
Well, let's start with everything else but the 20,000 movies from the film noir sets. That
we'll kick off where we left off, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll kick off back in late July. Well, that seems a little while ago. So back in late July.
Wait a second.
They announced it.
Are you going?
I'm going July 31st.
Whoa, you're going really far back, man.
Yeah, another Burt Lancaster film that we didn't talk about.
Okay.
That's coming in October, and this is part of that Paramount and Kino deal.
I think the one you're going to bring up is going to get brought up again up the page.
Okay, The Rainmaker?
Yes. Okay, so I think we need to go up to October 11th, or October 5th is when this was announced, and we're looking at The Golden Girl is the next thing that we should be talking about, because we talked about the score last week.
Yeah, but we talked about the score a while ago. We all talked about the Blue Iguana.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Happy Birthday to Me.
I think that's been brought up before.
And we didn't talk about The Eyes of Laura Mars. Well, obviously, we just mentioned all of these, so we talked about them.
I feel like we've talked about these, but
I don't think we have.
Whatever.
I don't know. Where did you see The Rainmaker again?
It's up there further. If you go up past the Kino, it's re-announced again.
Yeah, because they announced the details.
The details on it. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Then they also announced they showed the cover art and all that stuff. But I guess I could just go with what they got here. October 25th is when it's coming out. This is The Rainmaker, starring Burt Lancaster and Katharine Hepburn, two of my all-time favorites. And this is remastered in HD by Paramount Pictures from a 6K scan.
Yeah, this is where I was going to talk about this, because
the 35mm VistaVision original camera negative.
Is this a mistake? Damn. Or is this really a 6K scan?
I think it's really a 6K scan, but obviously it's down converted to our 2K Blu-ray capabilities. I mean, because you can't And that's the one thing with also 4K remasters and 4K masters and stuff. They have to downgrade the picture quality when it comes to when you get the Blu-ray, because Blu-ray can't give you a 4K picture,
Yeah.
and obviously not even UHDs can give you a 6K picture. So they're kind of downgrading this. But what that means is that they obviously are scanning this at the highest possible quality to make this look as better than it's already ever has. Yeah, they even have the original camera negative with it, and it's coming with a new audio commentary. I've seen this movie actually. I think I've seen it about 2 years ago. And Burt Lancaster playing like he's kind of like a wandering. He's not like a preacher, but he's kind of like a charlatan, as they describe him here. I think he's like a con man essentially, because in the film Elmer Gantry, he's a like a traveling preacher type guy, but he's not like this here. He's more like a traveling salesman, and he ends up kind of getting involved with Katharine Hepburn's character, who is a kind of a lonely woman living on like this ranch or whatever, and they have like this romance, and also the people in the town are trying to find him because they realize they've been duped by him, and it's a very good film. I really like it a lot. I'm not really describing it well because I haven't seen it in
not like
2 years.
Not like the Matt Damon movie.
The Rainmaker. Is that the Coppola film?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yes. I haven't seen that movie since the 90s.
It's a lawyer film, so no, I know it's.
It is a lawyer film with Danny DeVito,
Yeah.
if memory serves. I only watched that movie once when I was a kid, probably on VHS.
I had it on VHS, and I got it from when there used to be a Kroger, which is now Harris Teeter, where I live, and they used to have a video store in the Kroger, and this was one of the videotapes I basically got for free from the old video store because they were just basically giving away everything.
Really?
So yeah, I had the VHS of this. Yeah,
I can tell you this. That movie does not have a Blu-ray release here in the United States. I don't think it has one maybe anywhere. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. Nope, I lied.
What's going on with that?
No, it's got one in is that Korea or Japan? Can't tell by the flag. But it doesn't have one here. Doesn't have one in the UK. Doesn't have one in Australia. But it has one. Yeah, it has one in Japan, I believe.
Well,
yeah, it's got 2 releases in Japan actually.
Somebody needs to get on that.
I guess so. I'm really surprised that doesn't have a Blu-ray release, and we say that, and I bet you within the next year they're going to announce this.
Yep.
I just got that feeling.
It's going to happen.
I mean, because we know that the archive of American Zoetrope and Francis Ford Coppola has been putting out new restorations of the movies, and I feel like this has to be on the horizon.
It's got to be. Yeah.
Eventually, I mean, it's not one that I think a lot of people talk about, but I think it's probably something that's going to get released eventually. I don't even know if any of his other 90s films have releases either. Like, I don't know if Jack has a Blu-ray release. Do you think so, Steven?
I would think it does, but maybe not.
Maybe. Perhaps not.
It's Robin Williams. Robin Williams.
Yeah. It was the anniversary of his passing, I believe, a day or two ago. And that's always a tough day, I think, for a lot of people. Obviously, his children, more specifically, in his family. I think I follow a couple of his children on Twitter, and they put out like a thing about that and whatnot. Still an incredibly tragic and sad loss for many, many people. As we're witnessing now, a lot of people that we've grown up and known throughout our lives in the movie and TV industry are passing away very frequently, especially this year. It's been...
Yeah, there's been some tough scary stuff like the...
Anne Heche?
Is that how you say her last name?
Yes.
Heche.
Anne Heche? Yeah, that was incredibly tragic life, incredibly tragic passing as well. I mean, so many people passed. Ray Liotta passed in his sleep, apparently, while he was filming a movie. Incredibly sad. Yeah, Jack does not have a Blu-ray release. Just checking up on that. So not a lot of love for Francis Ford Coppola's 90s work, I guess.
Francis
was the story behind that,
I guess
right?
Francis Ford Coppola was just holding on to them all so he can do them himself.
I guess so. Well, you know the story, I guess the rumor behind that. There's always these kind of crazy rumors that Coppola didn't actually direct that movie; that his cinematographer did. I thought that was a rumor I heard years ago. That's kind of like how people are still bringing this up. Don't ask me how. I think it's been debunked forever.
The Poltergeist.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Steven Spielberg actually directed Poltergeist, and not Tobe Hooper, but it was actually, you know, Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
That's been debunked. And people still bringing that up. But how did we get on this track?
Well,
Let me get off.
we were you know how we do
You know what it was? Burt
we
Lancaster, The Rainmaker. You
Francis
put The
Ford
Rainmaker in my
Coppola.
head for Coppola, and that's
and
what
then you
happens.
started talking more Francis Ford Coppola, and I couldn't stop you. There was nothing I could do.
No, you can't stop it. You can't stop it.
I try, but I can't.
I can't. So but let's move on from The Rainmaker with Burt Lancaster and Katharine Hepburn. That's definitely on my list in terms of like I got to get some more Burt Lancaster. But moving on from there, I guess we'll go to I think Happy Birthday to Me. We didn't get to talk about. This is a horror film from 1981. It's a slasher. It's a slasher film, and it takes place around like high school kids, and this young girl wants to be part of like this young like super cool clique of friends. But what happens is all of these kids start dying one by one, and you're trying to figure out who's responsible for it, because she's having these she has like this past trauma where she has like some brain issues, and she's blacking out from time to time. So she's like, am I the one committing these murders, or what's going on? So you're trying to piece together these things. Glenn Ford is in the film as like her psychiatrist. And so he pops up throughout the movie as well. And that's very interesting. But this is getting a new audio commentary. There's a new interview with, I think, one of the actresses. I think it may be one of the main actresses in the film. And yeah, it's a good slasher. A lot of good kills and stuff. If you like that kind of 80s slasher realm, that's it. If you see the cover of this, that scene actually does happen in the movie. Somebody does get murdered with a shish kebab.
Cool.
It does actually happen. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, who directed The Guns of Navarone, the original Cape Fear. And yeah, so that's fascinating. That was fascinating to me when I found that out. So that's that movie. In the Eyes of Laura Mars is a film starring Faye Dunaway, who she was in like the Thomas Crown Affair. This is directed by Irvin Kershner, who directed Empire Strikes Back. Huh.
Yeah. So this was right before. So this is before that.
This is obviously before that. Yeah, this came out in 1978. And what's happening in this film, similar to Happy Birthday to Me, is that Faye Dunaway plays like this world-renowned artist who draws like these erotic paintings, and some of them also depict like murders and stuff. But she's having visions or dreams through the eyes of the murderer, and she's seeing like these scenes happen either before or after they happen. And she's painting them, and she's becoming wealthy because of them. And Tommy Lee Jones is this detective who's trying to, figure out these murders. And they have a whole, like, relationship, romance thing going back and forth and whatnot. And, yeah, it's another one of those kind of, like, thriller type slasher movies.
Making me think of a recent film I watched, Devil's Candy.
Oh, yes,
with the artist who's seeing the murderers of these children and
Ethan Embry.
Yeah,
Ethan Embry, I believe.
Yeah.
Who's all Metallica? Yeah, he's like a super Metallica fan.
Yeah. It's a metal horror film.
It's a metal movie.
Yeah,
it does remind me of that a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brad Dourif is in the film as well. Young Brad Dourif. He plays one of the characters. Raul Julia's in the movie, playing a character who's like, I think, the ex-husband of Faye Dunaway's character, actually. And it was really surprising to see him, because I'm always used to just seeing him towards the end of his career and end of his life, sadly, in the Addams Family.
Yeah, there's a guy
Street Fighter.
Kind of off topic, but there's a guy that I see at one of my stores that I work in that looks just like Raul Julia.
That's fascinating.
I think and it looks like him in the Addams Family. Like he has the
Nice.
thin mustache.
Even with the mustache?
Yeah.
Nice.
Thin mustache, slick back hair. I'm like thinking like, dude, is fucking.
Hey, is this guy in the Adams
Yeah,
Family?
God, this is Adam. It's,
Where do you live?
man?
That's so cool.
But all right.
Moving on from there, let's move on to, I guess, Golden Girl we did not get to talk about, even though you just brought it up.
Yeah.
This is a film I haven't seen, so I don't know much about it. It's getting a brand new 4K restoration by Studio Canal. It's got a couple of new interviews. It's got new commentary on it. I don't know anything about this movie, Steve.
Well,
I know James Coburn's in it, I believe.
Yeah, it's directed by Joseph Sargent, who did Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yes, he did.
Bill Conti does the music for this. So
Who did the music for Rocky?
Yeah, this is another sports film.
Yeah, it's co-starring Leslie Caron, who was in Geely. Geely, which is not the movie you're thinking about, Stephen.
No, not the Ben
Jennifer
Affleck
Lopez
Geely.
film. This is the Geely, I think, that won Best Picture way back when. So
or is it
that
Gigi?
film. Is it Gigi?
It's
What am I
Gigi.
saying, Geely?
Yeah.
You know what it is? I was talking about Ben Affleck earlier, and I have Ben Affleck on
Oh,
the
so you got
brain.
Geely on the mind out of all his movies?
I guess so. Well, it was a paparazzi picture of him and Jennifer
not the
Lopez.
reindeer games? God.
No. I was putting him and J-Lo together.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so it is Gigi, you're right, starring Leslie Caron, Maurice Chevalier. Yeah, this is the film directed by Vincente Minnelli, and I think this movie won 9 Oscars back in like 1958. I think it was one of the latter films. I think it's a musical. I don't really know. I shouldn't be saying things. But yeah, won Best Director, Best Picture, all the good stuff.
But Golden
And,
Girl.
Leslie Caron was in that.
But Golden Girl.
Yeah, but go back to Golden Girl. Golden Girl is a film I don't know anything about.
Yeah, don't know nothing about it. Sports film. Studio Canal did the restoration on it. So
Yes.
I'm guessing Studio Canal might put out a UK version of this if they're feeling like it. This is also pairing with Scorpion releasing.
So the premise of the film, gorgeous Susan Anton, who was in Cannonball Run 2, stars as an untried female sprinter who enters the Olympics claiming that she will win an unprecedented 3 gold medals. But when one man, portrayed by legendary James Coburn, falls in love with her, he unravels the bizarre history of her training and tough money men who stand to make millions if she survives. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, that is Golden Girl. Sounds like a thriller sports film.
It's the prequel movie to the Golden Girls show. It's
I
one of the
guess so.
characters before they, sat around talking shit to each other. Yeah.
But moving further back in time, let's go to some pre-code era stuff. And I love my pre-code movies. And we have a 2 releases here, 2 separate releases. By Candlelight from 1933, and then Murder at the Vanities from 1934. Murder at the Vanities is getting a brand new 2K master and the audio commentary. By Candlelight is digitally restored by Universal Pictures in 4K from the 35mm original elements.
Directed by James Whale.
Directed by James Whale. Now, that's what intrigues me the
That's
most.
intriguing, yeah.
A pre-code film directed by James Whale, it's almost a must-buy.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a must-buy for me. James Whale, of course, great director of his time.
Yeah.
Frankenstein and...
The Old Dark House.
And he also directed The Invisible Man. One of the first early on, queer filmmakers.
Yeah.
Obviously, I believe he was in the closet during his time and kind of expressed his, sexuality through his films. Under themed his films and whatnot. This is definitely a film that I'm definitely interested in. He also directed the film Waterloo Bridge, which is a great film. They remade it years later, I think, with Vivian Leigh, but the original one is a great film. I think it's available in those TCM pre-code Hollywood sets that they did. I think it's available in Volume 1, actually. But it's directed by James Whale. The premise of that film is a prostitute's self-loathing makes her reluctant to marry an idealistic soldier during World War I. It's a very good film. I can't recommend that film enough to people. If you can get your hands on it, it's probably available to watch on YouTube for free. And that's how old it is. But yeah, I definitely want to get more James Whale in the collection. So
All right.
that was really cool. The second film I don't know much about. which is Murder at the Vanities, which sounds great to me. It's kind of like sounds like a murder mystery. It's got music, I think, by Duke Ellington. It's directed by Mitchell Leisen, who they've been putting out a lot of films from Mitchell Leisen. A lot of those Carol Lombard films, I think, were directed by Mitchell Leisen that they've been putting out. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. Don't think I am, though. Don't think I am. It's a pre-code musical comedy and murder mystery combination. That sounds awesome. Victor McLaglen is in the film. That's a great name to say.
McLaglen.
He's a great actor. Underrated actor, in my opinion. I think I brought this film up before. He won an Oscar for a great film. One of John Ford's early films, The Informer, 1935. I think I brought this film up a few times. This is another great film. Yeah, directed by John Ford. Just for people who don't know that movie, in 1922, an Irish rebel informs on his friend, then feels doom closing in. That is the general premise, but it goes so much deeper than that. So much deeper. And the guy who's the informer is Victor McLaglen. You get kind of his anguish about that, and you really see him kind of fall into this just pit of self-despair, of regret about that decision. But it's a great film. But moving on from there, we can move on to another release. And Steven, once again, Kino's coming in and taking from somebody else's playbook. And this time they're taking from Imprint, and they're taking another one of their recent releases, and that is Twilight. I don't think we got to talk about this, right?
No,
I know
but
we talked about the Imprint release.
yeah, we did, and they do it. Actually, they take two Imprint titles in this slate of. They take two of them. They got this one, and we'll talk about the other one in a minute. But this came from the neo noir set. And I haven't watched it yet, but I know you've watched it.
Yeah, they're 90s the Imprint's 90s neo noir set.
Yeah,
the After Dark set, which makes it sound extra dirty. That After Dark moniker, I think.
Well, it just makes it seem more noir.
Yeah,
they put that in the title just to make sure you
dark.
understand that it is still dark, even though it's in color.
Yeah, this is the film Twilight. This isn't the Twilight everyone thinks of. This is the film from 1998, starring Paul Newman, Gene Hackman, Susan Sarandon, James Garner, young Reese Witherspoon's in the film, Stockard Channing, Giancarlo Esposito, who is in everything these days, seemingly so. Liev Schreiber, young Liev Schreiber's in the film as well. Emmett Walsh.
Directed by Robert Benton.
Yeah, directed by Robert Benton.
Also did Nobody's Fool, which is also another Newman film that
yes, it was
recently
one that
got
came
put
out
out
a few years earlier.
That was the other
out.
movie that Kino took from a recent imprint. Was Nobody's Fool.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for that release for obvious reasons. Paul Newman being my favorite actor.
It gives people a chance to get this film.
Get it here and not have to import.
You don't have to. I mean, that movie that set's Regent free anyway, but it gives you a chance to get that movie if you just want
prices.
That movie.
Yeah, if you're like me who's just trying to get the individual Paul Newman films in your collection, this is a good option for you. Yet again, we don't know special feature wise
how it stacks
what
up.
has what, how it stacks up with one another. They could have completely different features for all we know. But something that we also don't know special features about is John Schlesinger's film Marathon Man, starring Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier, Roy Scheider, William Devane. I have had this on Blu-ray for a good 10 years now. And this is a 4K UHD re-release by Kino, brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master. I'm very excited about this actually.
It's a pretty big one, yeah.
This is a great film. Yet again, it's a film I don't think I've seen in 10 years. I know Laurence Olivier was nominated for an Oscar for this film. It was one of his later roles. This is 1976, and Laurence Olivier, of course, was doing films in the 30s and 40s. But yeah, this is shot by Conrad Hall. Great cinematographer. Steven, have you seen this movie?
Like you, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
I definitely went through a Dustin Hoffman phase back when I was super into collecting the Oscar films, which I don't really care much for now, but I used to go through and now, of course the 70s is littered with Dustin Hoffman, and the 80s, Dustin Hoffman, great performance after great performance. And
his 70s filmography is incredible.
Yeah, and so this I got along to this film, and at some point, but it's been a while.
It's like I said, directed by John Schlesinger, who we all know from such films as Midnight Cowboy, as
Kramer versus Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer. Was that him?
Dustin Hoffman. I thought you were talking about Dustin.
I meant John Schlesinger.
Oh, John Schlesinger.
John Schlesinger.
No.
Yeah, he did Marathon Man, Sunday Bloody Sunday,
Yeah.
Midnight Cowboy, Far from the Maddening Crown. Billy Liar was one of his early films. Great director. But yeah, Dustin Hoffman, his 70s, he had a run from pretty much from The Graduate all the way up until the late 80s. That was just phenomenal. And yeah, this is a film. I remember. This is not a spoiler. There was a torture sequence in this film that was particularly spellbinding. Just really dark and gritty and just like scary.
Yeah,
really scary. But the IMDb premise is thus: after the shocking murder of his older brother, a New York history student, Dustin Hoffman, finds himself inexplicably hounded by shadowy government agents on the trail of a Nazi war criminal who was trying to retrieve smuggled diamonds. And it's the wrong man scenario.
Yeah.
It's the classic Hitchcock wrong man scenario where he's caught up in something that he has nothing to do with. Like wrong man at the wrong time, or wrong place at the wrong time, and wrong man. But yeah, it's a classic film.
It's also written by William Golden.
Yeah, William Goldman, great writer. The Princess Bride comes to mind.
All the President's Men, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, Princess Bride.
Nice.
Even Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, yes, he did. He did write Ghost in the Darkness, which we talked about when it got announced by Shout Factory.
I think it was.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I have that release, but I'm forgetting if it was a Shout.
It's crazy. I'm pretty sure you have that
I do,
release.
but I'm not remembering offhand.
Because you had seen, I had never even heard of that movie until you mentioned it. Yeah, it was Shout Factory, by the way. Came out back in May. Good thing I had Blu-ray.com up to take a quick look.
No, but he's a good writer. He's done a lot. He's put out a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah, he's written a whole book about screenwriting and stuff. Like there's a whole William Goldman book you can read to learn about screenwriting.
He did the screenplay for Harper.
Yes, he did.
I mean, a lot of Paul Newman. He's written films for a lot of the better actors of the time. He wrote the screenplay for Chaplin.
The film starring Robert Downey Jr. as Chaplin. I know there's a lot of people
Richard
who hate that
Attenborough
movie.
Directed.
Yes, I know there's a lot of people who hate that movie.
I like that movie.
It was really good.
Yeah. He did Maverick too. He did Maverick, the one with the Western with Mel Gibson.
Oh yeah, the Richard Donner film.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, he directed Year of the Comet.
He did do Dreamcatcher, which is not good.
But he did write the screenplay for Misery.
It's a good one.
No, but is that the Misery? Yep, that's the Misery with directed by Rob Reiner, starring the late James Caan and Kathy Bates.
Another Richard Attenborough film, A Bridge Too Far.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
you're right.
A lot of good stuff.
Oh, and he also The Hot Rock, 1972. This is a good film, directed by Peter Yates, starring Robert Redford, George Segal. It's a heist movie.
Yeah.
It's like a diamond heist movie. It's really, really good. Highly recommend that movie. Papillon is another film that he was a contributing writer on that, and I think he's uncredited. But this is another film. Coincidentally, we were just talking about him.
And he just recently passed.
Steve McQueen, Dustin Hoffman.
Just recently passed.
He did.
2018.
He did just recently pass. Unfortunately, so. But yeah, so that's William Goldman. Little trip down.
As we keep going down rabbit holes.
I know we can. Yeah, because you know what it is. You can go down, and then you kind of branch off.
Yeah, we're branching off of.
He wrote this and wrote that.
It's a good thing.
But speaking of branches,
a good thing. Yeah.
Not the best transition I've ever made. We've got a branch here that's a Kino Lorber Studio Classics branch of their film noir, The Dark Side of Cinema box sets, and they're putting out another 4 of these.
Yeah.
We are on volume 12, 13, 14, and 15 are on the horizon.
God damn it, I'm so behind.
Yeah, 1 through 11 are available.
I'm so goddamn behind.
Still.
Like,
And yeah,
it's gotten away from me.
it's gotten away from me too. I'm still on 3.
I think I have the first 5.
Oh yeah, you're ahead of me. The thing is, I gotta get because there are 4.
Or maybe only 4.
Oh boy, maybe you're a little closer. We're a little closer.
Oh no,
than we
5
thought to each other. Okay.
Yeah, I see 5. Yeah.
But what's different about these is they're actually telling us now something. So they're touting this as from 12 brand new 2K masters. So all of these 12 films and all of these 4 sets are from brand new 2K masters. They weren't really telling us that before with a lot of the earlier sets. They kind of weren't telling us anything. They were kind of just putting these movies on Blu-ray, and we were kind of like, oh yeah, they look good. We have no idea if they're 4K restorations, remasters. We had no real idea. But what we do know is I believe all of these movies and all of these sets, including these 4 here, are all from Universal Studios archives.
Yeah.
Like they're all like deep cut from Universal Studios. Because every single movie that I watched when it comes to these sets, the Universal logo comes up beforehand. So there it is. But yeah, let's go through them. So the box set number 12 has Undertow, Outside the Wall, Hold Back Tomorrow. Box set number 13, lucky number 13, has Spy Hunt, The Night Runner, and Step Down to Terror. Step Down to Terror is actually a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Shadow of a Doubt. But it is nowhere near as good of a movie, I can tell you that. They change up a couple of things in terms of character relationships, and the movie just doesn't have the Hitchcock touch to it at all. But box set number 14, it has Undercover Girl, One Way Street, which stars James Mason, and then Appointment with the Shadow. And then box set number 15 has Man Afraid, Girl in the Kremlin, and then The Tattered Dress. Now, all of these movies are all from 1949 to 1957. That seems to be the year range. The later box set, for example, 15, all those movies are from 1957. The Appointment with the Shadow is from 1957, and the other ones are, kind of range around from, well, there's one here from 1958, so I kind of just lied, but whatever. Step Down to Terror is from 1958, so that would have been, oh my goodness, how many years after Shadow of a Doubt? Like 16, maybe?
Something like that.
Because Shadow of a Doubt, I think came out in either 1943. So 15 years after Shadow of a Doubt. So I guess they were trying to capitalize on its
the popularity of that 15-year-old movie.
Yeah, I guess. If anything, it shows you that this whole idea of remakes, reboots, readaptations, whatever they're redoing, is not a new concept. Hollywood's been doing this for decades, decades upon decades. So, nothing new here. But yeah, Shadow of a Doubt, much better film. But yeah, those are all of these movies. Now, Steven, I know you got to watch a couple of them. I got to watch a couple of them. Which ones did you get to check out?
I checked out a few, The Tattered Dress, Undertow, and The Girl in the Kremlin. Girl in the Kremlin, they categorize it as film noir, but it's got more of a spy feel to it than anything. It's roughly about, of course, we had Joseph Stalin as, the dictator of Russia, and there's a whole thing of him like faking his death. Did he fake his death and have plastic surgery so he could go into hiding? And there's all this other stuff of this girl who gets, I guess, turned in as like for espionage, and there's a whole scene of her getting like, tortured. I guess you could say tortured. She gets her whole head shaved, basically like Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta.
And V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the still photos that I saw from this movie, and also the poster has in big white letters say "Is Stalin alive?"
Yeah.
Question mark, with the picture of Joseph Stalin in it. Yeah, so in 1953, Soviet dictator Stalin fakes his own death, undergoes plastic surgery, that's a key, and vanishes, but OSS agent Steve Anderson searches for him in Europe.
Yeah, so it's this big manhunt type of movie. It kind of makes me think of Valkyrie, a little bit of that
Okay.
type of movie, trying to find this, he's trying to kill Hitler in that movie, and this is it's trying to find Stalin. It's kind of got that same kind of, that's why I say it doesn't feel as much like noir to me. It feels more like adventure slash just like espionage, which, a lot of them genres kind of mesh into film noir, but I don't know. It's borderline for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I would also like to say that a lot of these movies are on the shorter side of run times. Like none of these movies are over 90 minutes long,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Most of them are like an hour and 20, hour 25 minutes, something like that. So these are shorter film noirs. These are kind of like, I don't want to say B movie film noirs, but they kind of are. They're not really starring any major headline actors of the time. These aren't the film noir movies I think a lot of people are going to remember. This isn't like a Double Indemnity, Maltese Falcon, or In a Lonely Place, or other big time, ones. These are kind of smaller. These are a lot of actors that you're probably not going to recognize. Although this film, The Girl in the Creme de stars Zsa Zsa Gabor. For those of you who know who Zsa Zsa Gabor is, I know one of the films that I got to see, which is what did I get to see? One Way Street stars James Mason. So that's another one of the films that I got to see. And James Mason, obviously, would go on to be a very big star. This came out in 1950, so relatively, I think, early on in his career or so. Maybe not actually, because you know what? I get James Mason and James Garner confused. Don't ask me why. Completely different actors
Yeah.
in completely different genres,
Yeah.
completely different looking people, and I completely get them mixed up. James Mason, of course, we talked about. He's in. I mean, he was in North by Northwest. He was in Lolita. He was in A Star Is Born. So yeah, so this is not an early work from James Mason. James Mason, was around at the time. He was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He was in Bigger Than Life. So a lot of his work actually was done in the 40s and 50s. I'm thinking of Odd Man Out. He was in the Carol Reed film Odd Man Out from 1947. That has a Criterion Blu-ray release that I bought many years ago. I think he was also in. Speaking of like you were talking about, hunting down Hitler and whatnot. He was in The Boys from Brazil, with Gregory Peck, and Laurence Olivier was also in there. That's an underrated film in my opinion. I don't know if you've ever seen Boys from Brazil, Steven.
I'm sorry. Your feed was going in and out, so I didn't hear.
Oh, my feed was going in and out.
Yeah.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. So what you say again?
Yeah, have you ever seen the film The Boys from Brazil?
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, yeah, it's a film from 1978 starring Gregory Peck, Laurence Olivier, James Mason, and basically there's this Nazi hunter, Ezra Lieberman, who I think is portrayed by Gregory Peck, or is it Laurence Olivier? I can't remember, but they discover like a sinister plot uh, to rekindle the Third Reich, and they have to stop it.
Yeah.
I think it's an underrated film.
Okay.
But that just reminded me that James Mason was in that film, and he was also in this film. What was it called? Shadow? No, one.
Step down
I
into
lost my feed.
terror.
No, One Way Street.
One Way Street.
Yeah, I watched One Way Street. Steven got to watch the Girl in the Kremlin. I got to watch a movie called A Spy Hunt, which is part of the set as well, and it's it is not a good film. It's directed by George Sherman, and George Sherman is a director that directed I think he directed the gangster film Larceny. He directed Big Jake from 1971, starring John Wayne in one of his later films. I remember that. He directed a lot of westerns and stuff, kind of all over the place when it comes to a really long career. But this film is not great. So Spy Hunt, there's this. How do I even describe this film? It's another one of those spy espionage type of films that you're talking about, Stephen. But this one is this woman who's this agent hides this microfilm in the collars of one of these two, I think they're panthers or tigers or something. in a train going from like Milan to Paris, and they crash in the Alps. And there's these people that are after this microfilm as well, and this man kind of gets caught up in having to find these animals in the forest of the Alps with
Jeez.
this woman, and it's kind of low budget, and some of the animal shots kind of look like they're stock footage. It's kind of obvious, but yeah, that's kind of the premise of the movie.
Doesn't really sound film
it's
noir.
not too great. It's not. It's not really. Yeah, I would say it's not quite the traditional film noir that we know of. It has that espionage type of twinge to it, which I think is appropriate for a lot of these 1950s noir, because you're getting into the Cold War paranoia,
Yeah.
things like that, when you're dealing with kind of spy and espionage stuff from the USSR and the United States going at each other and whatnot. So you're getting a lot of those things in kind of this post-war film noir, realm. And they're kind of branching out to a more international film noir, as we saw, Girl in the Kremlin. The Kremlin's literally Russia. This takes place in the Alps, stuff like that. So it's just very really fascinating. So I got to watch that, and we both got to see Undertow.
Yeah. Yeah, William Castle directed
That's
it.
why we both wanted to watch it, probably.
Yeah, well, this is pre Castle doing, what he's mostly known for, which is kind of doing his kind of theatrical horror films and things like that. If you've gotten the sets from Indicator, you get a good idea of what William Castle's all about through them sets, where he did a lot of, gimmicky things, whether, for 13 Ghosts, the 3D stuff and all that, the vibrating. I think he did
For the Tingler.
The Tingler, yeah, the
Where he would
Tingler.
tingle you, essentially with like a little vibration, a little
Yeah, like a
buzz
shock,
things,
or-
little shock things underneath the seats
Yeah.
in the theater. Coincidentally, on our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels, I did a whole review of that first Indicator box set, and kind of went into all the little gimmicks that he did for each of those movies. And of course, like, that was his thing. He was the king of the gimmicks. Where
Yeah.
that he would have, like, skeletons from House on Haunted Hill, like, swinging from the rafters of the theater when you were watching and whatnot. But this was, before any of that cool stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
We get Undertow, as
It's just
it's like
yeah.
how would you describe this? He's like a wartime gambler.
Yeah, he's a man. And he got in.
But he wants to, like,
went
go
to prison, and he was on parole, right?
Yeah, and he gets framed for murder, and he's basically on the run for, like,
He's
killing,
trying
like,
to
his old,
prove his
like,
innocence.
boss, his old mob boss.
Yeah,
And he's been framed for it, and he's trying to, like, figure out who did it.
has a little
and
bit
who
of a
framed him up.
fugitive vibe to it,
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, he does have a bit of, like, yet again, wrong man scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone who's a patsy.
I mean, he
in the
like
wrong
literally
place at the wrong
goes to
time.
this place, gets knocked out, wakes up in a car, and then
then
the cops
people-
are looking for him. He finds that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's he doesn't even know what has happened. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a solid film. I enjoy William Castle, though known for, like I said, known for his later stuff. He's a decent director. I mean, there's some good direction in the film. I think it's a well paced little movie. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I know you really dug it a lot. I just came across something a little interesting. Guess who has his first ever credited role in this movie? Which I didn't realize it until I just read this. Rock Hudson is one of the detectives in the movie,
Yep.
in the plainclothes detective. And he's credited as R.O.C., Hudson, not R.O.C.K. Hudson.
Yeah.
And it's his first credited role, because before that he had an uncredited role, and after that he had an uncredited role as well. Very fascinating.
Yeah. It's,
Very, very fascinating. I didn't even catch him. I did not even catch him. And to be honest, these movies are probably some of the tougher films to find to watch in general. For a lot of these sets coming out. I don't know if they're just deep catalog titles, so they've never really seen the light of day in any meaningful way. But in terms of streaming, these weren't really that about widely available even to rent. They
Yeah.
weren't really, they basically had really bad quality uploads to YouTube.
Yeah.
I know that's where I found a lot of
Yeah,
these.
me too. Yeah.
Yeah, so and they looked really rough. So these are going to be kind of revelatory in terms of picture quality upgrades. But yeah, that's those sets. You're getting, like I said, 4 more sets of these. So
12 more films.
if you haven't
yeah.
caught up, you got time.
Yeah, well, I
because
mean,
they're not stopping.
These sets seem to stay in print. I mean, the only set that really ever went out of print was the first one.
Yeah, the first one, which has 5 movies in it, I think has 5 movies.
It's the
that
only one
went out
that
of print
doesn't have
for
3.
a little while.
Yeah.
And then the rest have 3. And even I think the second set may have gone out of print for a little bit as well. But I think maybe they just made more copies of it. I don't know. But these are available now directly from Kino, and I think Amazon has them. But Amazon, I'm going to warn people about, we all know how notoriously bad Amazon shipping is when it comes to their movies. If they put these things in one of those paper bags they've been shipping stuff in, there's going to be damage because this is thin cardboard packaging. Not you touch these things the wrong way and you're going to get an indent on them.
Yeah.
If you breathe on them the wrong way. I can tell you a horror story right now, Steven.
I don't want to be scared. It's not October yet.
I know it's not October yet, but because the Criterion sale just wrapped up at the end of July, and I ordered a bunch from Amazon because Amazon price matched them. I got Amazon Prime, shipping comes right away. They put what was it like? I think it was 7 or 8 Criterions in one of those paper bag type things, and they just put them all in there. And I was just like, this is baffling. These are like, this is baffling. I was like, there's like $150 worth of Criterions in here. What are you doing? What are you doing? And luckily, they all came not broken, not scratched, not squished, none of that. The only one I had to return was Raging Bull. Raging Bull for some reason had like 3 puncture holes on the back. And by puncture holes, I mean they went through the plastic and through the cover art as well. And I was just like, I gotta return this. I ended up returning it, and I got one where the cover art is a little askewed in terms of like the way, how it's supposed to be all even. It's a little like off center, like it's a little like this. So I'm thinking to myself, I may have to just contact Criterion and get new cover art, because you can do that, and they're usually pretty cool about that. But everybody, check your stuff. Always check your stuff when you get anything shipped in. Check and recheck, because you never know if there's any issues. You're paying top dollar for these things. But yeah, that's Kino in a nutshell, Steven. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about. There's a couple more.
There's a couple. One
more.
particular. I mean, we've talked about Dress to Kill getting a 4K. We know that.
Yes. Let's just talk about that briefly.
Oh man, briefly is never briefly with you.
Yeah, I'll be as brief as I can. So this is a 2-disc set. First disc is the 4K disc, which you're getting the movie and a new commentary. The second disc is loaded with special features. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah,
Steven.
I see it here. It does have 2 new features, but the rest are previous ones.
Yes, but these features, I believe, are a lot of the stuff I think that may have been on the Arrow release from back in the day. I'm not quite sure in terms of what's crossing over when it comes to Criterion, because we all know Criterion usually has an exclusive chokehold on their special features. So I would have to do a side-by-side comparison, but you are getting quite an extras package here for this release. And hopefully the quality is good. I mean, it does say a brand new HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the original camera negative. For those of you interested, I think the Criterion Blu-ray, came out back in 2015. So this is probably going to be a brand new transfer at this point.
Yeah.
And then, I think Arrow also put this out back in 2013. So it's going to look even better than that release. And that release was the one that was loaded with special features. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of these features are coming from. So keep an eye out on that. This is coming October 25th. Not August, October.
Yep. And and the last thing I wanted to bring up was, and then this was what I was alluding to earlier when it came to another imprint box set kind of title being pulled out as a single release by Kino, and it's the Detective Story, 1951, William Wyler. Yes, this is in their film noir, I think, Volume 1. And it was the centerpiece because for me, that was the reason I bought the set.
Was that the reason you bought the set?
Is because this movie was in there. And
I think it's the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same master.
It says 2020. Yeah, so it's probably the same master.
By Paramount. And I'm pretty sure, imprint got that same master.
Probably, yeah.
From Paramount. 4K scan. I don't know if I've seen this movie. I think I have. Because I know that was before we were kind of covering imprint and stuff. But those film noir sets are kind of underrated. They're a little expensive. They're good.
I mean, there's 3 now, I think. I think a Volume 3 got announced. I think
Volume 3 just came out.
And so I still got to get 2 and 3, but it's one of them things where there was some crossover.
I actually did a comparison. There was a little bit of crossover here and there, but mostly it was news. It was stuff that hadn't crossed over yet.
Yeah.
I use the word yet because, as we keep seeing, somebody somewhere is doing it. You know what I mean?
Indicators
putting them out.
Indicators now moving on to Universal. Or wait.
Yeah, so who knows if we're going to start getting crossover.
Yeah, they're doing a whole other company.
The Kino sets.
Yeah. But that's what the new film noir set series looks to be for Indicator too. They're doing the Universal noir, right?
Yes, because we already got a Volume 1 of that, and I'm pretty sure if we get a Volume 1, there's going to be more, because that one's going to sell.
And who knows if they might go to Paramount next.
I mean, everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
You know what's people really, I mean, if you haven't studied the history of film, in general, you're going to notice that the patterns that repeat themselves.
Yeah.
If one company is doing something and they're successful at it, the other companies will pick up and adopt that same type of thing to kind of cash in.
Oh, yeah.
We see it now with the superhero movies. Marvel and Disney teamed up, and they've got those movies, making money. And then now everybody else has got to get some properties and start selling them. Warner Brothers has their stuff. Netflix is going to do their stuff. Whomever else. Everybody's going to jump in to try to get the same slice of the pie. They were doing the same thing back in the 40s with film noir.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was doing it. RKO was doing it. Warner Brothers was doing it. Universal, Paramount, Columbia Pictures was doing it. Everybody's copying everybody to make that money. It's always been about money. Always been. But yeah, that's everything when it comes to Kino. There's one here that we didn't get, that one straggler here, Island of the Blue Dolphins. This is based off of a book, actually, a book that I read back when I was in elementary school. That's how long ago I was familiar with this. It's a children's book.
Okay.
Kind of like, I think, a Native American girl who becomes stranded on a remote island off the California coast. That's the premise of the film. That was the premise of the book. So they're releasing that from 1964. I think that's also Scorpion releasing. Yes, it is. Scorpion releasing. So that is it for Kino. And that was a lot of Kino stuff.
Well, that's because there was the box sets.
Yeah, that's true.
Them box sets are crazy.
Speaking of box sets, we got the big box set right now, and that is Shawscope Volume 2. Steven, give us the rundown of all of these movies, and then we'll go into
a few that we've seen. So like I said at the beginning of the show, this did get leaked, I think, at the beginning of last week, and then Arrow had to, basically give in and, I believe, release this a little earlier than they expected to. But it's out now, and we're all getting excited for it because it's looks like another great set of films. So disc 1, we have, which typically I would say is the headliner. In Volume 1 we had King Boxer. So the headliner in this one is 36 Chambers of Shaolin.
Yeah, and this is a 10-disc set, but the last 2 discs are
CDs.
Yeah. So you're getting 14 films on 8 discs.
Yeah.
You're gonna get some double ups.
Yeah, some double ups. I think there's only 2 discs that have one movie. So disc 1's got 36 Chambers of Shaolin,
Yes.
and disc 2's got Return to 36 Chambers and Disciple of 36 Chambers. And then disc 3 has got Mad Monkey Kung Fu, which I want to watch because the title's cool. And then 5 Super Fighters, which just sounds like a kid made up the title.
Sounds like a Power Ranger spin-off.
Yeah, Power Ranger spinoff or something. Disc 4 has got Invincible Shaolin and The Kid with the Golden Arm. Then disc 5 has Magnificent Ruffians and 10 Tigers of Wang
Want me to
Tung.
do it? Yeah, that was good.
Wang Tung.
Yeah.
Silent
Wang
K.
Tung.
Disc 6, which is our other disc with one film, My Young Auntie, which is the least martial arts sounding name out of all these things. Disc 7's got Mercenaries from Hong Kong, and it also has The Boxer's Omen, which I believe we've brought up before when we talked with Andrew Furtado about some other films we wanted to see in future Shawscope sets, and here it is. And then Disc 8 has The Martial Arts of Shaolin and The Barefooted Kid. And then Disc 9's got Disc 9 and 10 have music from a lot of these films. So yeah, it's another set full of kung fu action that I can't wait to go through. Like I said, 36 Chambers, probably the headliner here. It's kind of a seminal kind of martial arts film. Kind of, set the stage for that genre, where the good guy gets his ass kicked, and then goes and trains and comes back and kicks their ass. Kind of seminal in that genre of martial arts film.
To be honest, a lot of the Shaw Brothers films have that same exact premise.
Yeah. I think
a lot of the ones I've seen.
I think they saw that they did this when they were like, okay, we got to keep doing this.
Yeah, the 36 Chamber of Shaolin is probably one of their more well-known and more popular works. We should also mention that this set is coming out November 21st of 2022, so right in time for your holiday shopping extravaganzas. But the 36 Chamber of Shaolin is, I think, the only one of these films that's getting a 4K restoration by Celestial Pictures, who owns the rights to the Shaw Brothers films, and L'Immagine Ritrovata, which I think is another company. This one's, I think, has the most in terms of special features. Disc 2 is actually one of the discs that neither of those films are, or at least they're telling us, are getting any type of 2K or 4K restoration, but and also My Young Auntie. So it looks like about 10 of these films are getting 2K restorations, 1 is getting a 4K restoration, and then 3 they don't say are getting any restorations at all. So that's kind of where that stands. And
maybe the films are already in
solid
condition.
Remastered. I don't really know, because I know I'm assuming all of these have gotten DVD releases at least before. I would have to go in to see if any of these have gotten Blu-ray releases. I know here in the States, 36 Chamber of Shaolin has gotten a Blu-ray release, because I remember seeing it at Best Buy of all places, once upon a time, and it's just let me put it this way: we are long away from the days of where you could find the 36 Chamber of Shaolin at a Best Buy.
Yeah, those
days are long dead, long dead. Because that Blu-ray, which I think was put out by Dragon Dynasty, came out in 2010. That's how long ago that Blu-ray came out. That's kind of eons and eons ago. And so I got to see a good number of these films. I got to see about half of these films. I wanted to see, at least half in terms of what we're covering here, just to get a good sense of what the set is going to entail. And the set does range in a good amount of range from, I think, 1978 all the way up through 1993. Granted, if you're familiar with the Shaw Brothers history, they kind of stopped making movies like partway, I think, into the 1980s for the most part, and they concentrated on other projects. But I think they ended up coming back and making a couple of movies here and there. So that's why you kind of get all the way to 93. And yeah, it's a really great set. I mean, just the sheer mass of films and special features you get are just incredible.
There's also a kind of a wide range of genres too. There's a little bit.
Yeah, when you get into the 80s, things get
we start getting some more horror oriented stuff. Like The Boxer's Omen's the one that, because I watched that film before we talked with Andrew Furtado, when we talked about other films that could have been in a future Shaw Brothers set. This was one that I watched, and it is like a surrealistic kind of horror, film that they did. And then of course the other one that stands out to me as kind of a different genre is where is it? I lost it. Wait a second. I'm gonna find it. Mercenaries from Hong Kong.
Yeah, Mercenaries from Hong Kong.
It's like
I really wanted to watch it.
I really wanted to watch it because it looks like kind of almost like a cop drama type of,
Well, not only that, it feels like one of those, a lot of the films that we got here in the United States at that same time, that kind of late 70s and 80s Vietnam films, which all were basically about people coming back from Vietnam and being screwed up with PTSD because of it. It feels very much like that type of an military film, but with a little more actiony twist on it. The premise of Mercenaries from Hong Kong, according to IMDb, is a gang of ex-military guys are hired by a mysterious dame who wants them to go into Cambodia and kidnap the assassin who killed her father. And these ex-military guys were guys who were involved in Vietnam. So that's a wildly different premise than you get from all of these other films.
Yeah.
For the most part, because that seemed like a modern day film, at least modern day 1982 when the movie came out. A lot of the Shaw Brothers films all take place, heavily within the past, and they're all period pieces. Regardless of whether they're supernatural tinged or not, they all seem to be, in a more feudal time. So that was, you're right, Steven. That's the one that really stood out to me as well.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I think I get to see it.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm gonna try to.
It was tough to find.
I'm still gonna try to. I don't know if I might try to watch that one, even though I'm gonna buy the set. But I think it's important that they set a precedent, in which I think they're doing with this one, that not all Shawscope films were martial arts films, like straight up martial arts films.
Right.
Period martial arts films. Some of them are more modern. Some of them, they did do horror films. They tried to follow the trends, and like a big company would do, to try to make more money and whatnot. So I like that they're making sure that they throw some other genres in. I don't know that the art work on the set shows that, because it still does show like very much like martial arts as like the focus point. It's very similar, except of course the set's now like an orange or burnt orange color, which I really like the color. It pops well.
Yeah, I like how it contrasts with the bright blue of the first set.
Yeah.
We don't know what the inside really looks like structure wise. We can assume it's the same.
It's got a book.
It's going to be the same book like type of structure with the pages, the thick cardboard pages, and whatnot. But we don't know, like, in terms of what type of pictures they're going to show and things like that. But I got to see, like I said, a couple of it. Return to the 36th Chamber, which is the sequel to the 36th Chamber of Shaolin. And then Disciples of the 36th Chamber is the last film in kind of this loose trilogy. The second film is much different than the first, but similar in premise. The second film... this is the description. The workers of a dye factory have their pay cut by 20% when the factory owner brings in some Manchu thugs to try and increase production. Desperate to reclaim their full wages, the workers hire an actor to impersonate a priest and kung fu expert from the Temple of Shaolin. The factory owner proves the actor a fraud and punishes all those involved. The actor feels he has let the people down and promises to atone. He sets out for Shaolin, where he'll, learns the proper ways of Shaolin, and then comes back and kicks ass.
Yeah.
That's the premise of the movie. Yet again, one of those situations where somebody gets their ass kicked and has to go and make themselves better and then come back and make amends. That is the Return to the 36th Chamber. And the sequels are not as good as the first film, unfortunately. But Disciples of 36th Chamber is a film that you actually get the original actor and original like character comes back from the first film.
Yeah.
And you kind of get like a kind of like look at who like the next generation of like kung fu fighters are going to be for the Shaolin Temple, and it's cool. I really dug it a lot. But yet again, none of these kind of hold a candle to the first film.
And the director is
Chow Lang Lu.
Yeah, and he's very well known. He did films with Jackie Chan.
Oh yeah, he did a lot of these types of films.
He did The Legend of the Drunken Master. He did
yeah, he did Drunken Master 3, Legend of the Drunken Master, like you said. He did the 8-diagram pole fighter.
Yeah.
He did Disciples of 36th Chamber, like we said, My Young Auntie, Return to the 36th Chamber.
He also did another film,
Mad Monkey Kung Fu.
He did. I was gonna say he did another film in this set too. Martial Arts of Shaolin is another one.
Yes,
which is a Jet Li.
He also directed the original 36th Chamber of Shaolin.
Yes.
Shaolin Mantis. The reason why I'm mentioning all these because these all have like Blu-ray releases now.
Yeah.
I was just looking last night. A lot of these movies have Blu-ray releases now within the last year or two. So this is the kind of the third film in the trilogy, which is kind of cool. You get them all in this set here, so you don't have to track them down individually. But a better type of description. Yeah. It says Gordon Liu Chow Hu reprises his famous Monk Santai role as he tries to support and protect Shaolin Herfiang Xiu Hu, who purposely attacks corrupt Qing officials.
Yeah.
It's got great. I tell you, all of these movies have amazing fight choreography.
Well, I was gonna say that's what
I watch these movies for that reason.
I was gonna say that's what you watch them for.
You kind of don't really watch these movies for the plot per se, because as we're saying here, the plot is kind of really secondary to the awesome action you see. It really is. But a film that I really, really liked, which actually was the last film that I got to watch in the set, is The Barefooted Kid.
Okay.
And this is from 1993. And one of the three directors on this film was Johnny 2, who keeps popping up every once in a while. And this film is actually a remake of another Shaw Brothers film, Disciples of Shaolin, which actually has a Blu-ray release in both the UK and the US by 88 Films. And I actually have it, which I didn't realize I had it until I was looking through my stuff last night, and I actually realized I bought it last year. That's what happens when you buy so much stuff, and it's kind of all over the place because you haven't cataloged any of the stuff yet. You don't realize what you have.
Dude, your chaos is way worse than my chaos.
Oh, it's bad. It's real bad. I keep telling myself I got to get it under control.
And the thing is,
it's too wild.
And the thing is I think I buy more frequently than you. Yet my stuff's organized.
I guess. Yeah. So,
dude, you got to get yourself. You got time. You got
to get
time
it together. Got to get it together. But the premise of this film is a poor barefooted young man from the country arrives in the city to start work with the friend of his dead father, and the friend of his dead father is at this. I believe this. They make like clothing dye, or they dye clothing or material or something like that. And he's actually. It turns out that his father's friend, is kind of hiding out and been on the run for years from police from his past and whatnot. But what happens is this young man kind of gets... He's young, he's naive, he's stupid, he gets himself into trouble, and he ends up kind of becoming an enforcer accidentally for like the rival company of this company here. And they kind of dupe him into being their enforcer. And things kind of spiral out of control because of that. The action in this movie is incredible and entertaining as hell.
Okay.
And I found myself really getting wrapped up in the story as well. And Maggie Cheung is in this film. Maggie Cheung, whom I'm pretty sure many people know for her work with Wong Kar-wai,
Yeah.
and specifically In the Mood for Love. She was in 2046. She's in Police Story. She's in Days of Being Wild, another Wong Kar-wai film. Just one of the most stunning people you'll ever see on screen, and a hell of an actress. I believe she's in Police Story 2 and 3 as well. Just an incredible actress. She's just gorgeous in this movie. She plays the owner of this this dyeing company, and yeah, it's a really good film. I was very, very surprised by how much I enjoyed the heck out of it. And yeah, like I said, the action is just entertaining beyond belief. And the movie is relatively short. It's 90 minutes long, and it's cut to the bone. Like you're just moving along at a great pace. And this is one of the films where I find myself both being wrapped up in the story as well as wrapped up in the entertainment of the kung fu as well.
Cool.
Just really great. Yeah, so that was definitely a highlight for me. And I think that's the last film that's in the set, coincidentally. I also got to watch Martial Arts of Shaolin. The reason being I watched this movie, Steven.
Early Jet Li?
Early Jet Li.
Yeah.
Very young Jet Li. Like, he's like 22
It's like his
in this
It's like
movie.
his third film, I think.
Yeah, he's super young in this movie. Yet again, it's another one of those movies where in ancient China, Ji Ming trains at the legendary Northern Shaolin Temple to avenge the death of his father at the hands of a nefarious magistrate. And that is his thing, is he's trying to get revenge on this big-time evil magistrate guy, and he's learning kung fu. And of course, there's a romance that comes along the way, and and he fails, and then he's got to redeem himself, and the usual type of stuff. But it's a young Jet Li.
Dude, seeing him
movie.
young and vibrant and like just
Kicking ass.
God, he was
He's moving. He's just like
dude, he
lightning
was
out there.
magnificent. You know, he's not a big
He
dude.
still is. He still
I mean,
is
he
kicking
is. I
ass
know
out there.
I know physically he is not what he used to be. I know he's been going through some stuff physically.
Well, what's interesting is I remember growing up, Steven, like 90s, 2000s, Jet Li and Jackie Chan
Yeah.
were two of the bigger names that I think we kind of were watching a lot of their movies because they both had come over here and were starting to make U.S. movies,
Yeah.
like movies in the U.S.
And then slowly others came in. Donnie Yen came in.
Yeah, Chow Yun-fat was
Chow
also
Yun-fat
around at
was
the time.
definitely in there.
Donnie Yen, I think, was later on a little bit. But yeah, and of course Bruce Lee, I think, was the one I think everyone started out with. Even though he had such a small filmography, I just remember watching him on VHS back in the day. That was kind of my start with this kind of martial arts genre.
Yeah. Well, at least Chinese actors. If I want to be technical, martial arts films started with Van Damme for me, probably.
I guess if you want to branch out, I guess more of like, yeah.
Because I mean, if you look at like Van Damme films, they're basically martial art kung fu film plots, but in America, typically.
You want to hear something? I didn't watch. I think I've told you this many times. I didn't watch any like Van Damme movies growing up.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't. I watched action movies, but I didn't watch Van Damme movies. If that makes any sense.
It's weird. His movies are
I don't
action
even-
movies.
Yeah, ironically so. Like I didn't watch Van Damme. I didn't watch Steven Seagal.
I can understand him. His are. He's got some good ones, but he's maybe got like 5 good movies.
Yeah, he's not
Out
a
for Justice, which is like his debut movie. I'd say Mark for Death is another one that is good. A lot of people like Under Siege.
I'm just gonna mention Under Siege. There's a joke in Clerks about Under Siege. I think that's why.
Yeah. And there's some, Above the Law is not bad. I've seen all. I'm brainwashed as a kid.
You've seen a lot of
I've
these,
seen
apparently.
all these damn movies.
Yeah, I didn't see. It wasn't until much later in my life that I saw. I'm just going back to, Van Damme, where I saw Kickboxer.
Well,
Steven, you want to know what my first Van Damme movie ever
oh
was?
god, I don't want to hear this.
You're gonna hear this. I saw Street Fighter in the theater
It's
when I
the
was
worst
a
one.
kid. Yeah,
It is the worst one.
Speaking of Raul Julia, I mentioned I snuck a Street Fighter reference in when we were talking about Raul Julia. I don't know if you caught it.
Yeah.
Because that was his last movie. But I played Street Fighter on Super Nintendo as a kid, and then when the movie came out, I went and saw the movie, and of course, I was like,
God, that's the worst one.
I don't know.
That's
how
not a
old I
good
was, like,
first impression
5
of
years.
Van Damme movies. Like you need to go and
No,
watch.
it wasn't.
You need to go and watch like Bloodsport, or probably like I'd say Lionheart is my favorite. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's my favorite because it's got some heart in it. Lionheart. It's got some good feels to it. Legionnaire is another good one. Terrible movie, but The Quest is actually kind of fun. It's another one of the movies that's like Bloodsport, where there's a fighting competition, but in this case, it's a period movie, and he's like going out to like some like almost kind of Mortal Kombat type of style, like fighting tournament, and like there's like people from all over the world
Sounds like Mortal Kombat.
It is, but it's supposed to be more realistic, So, but yeah, you need to.
So Street Fighter came out in '94, and I would have been like 7 years old when it came out. So I remember going to the theater to see that.
You should have watched Universal Soldier instead of that. Was
I guess so. The thing is,
it came out like right around the same time.
I mean, when I was 7 years old, I wasn't exactly watching R-rated films.
Death Warrant is a better
choice. I think
choice.
all of his films were R-rated.
Hard
I was
Target.
Watching a lot of PG-13 stuff.
Hard Target.
I watched Hard Target much later on in life. Like I think I watched it like 10 years ago.
Time Cop.
I'll tell you, I don't think I've seen Time Cop.
Dude, we got to get you on a Van Damme.
Yeah, no, I gotta watch. I don't. Thing is, I don't own a lot of these, and I gotta go and like hunt these down online somewhere.
But back to whatever we were talking about.
Back to where we were.
We're back to, man, we've gone on a lot of tangents during this episode.
Yeah, Shawscope, and I just realized that we missed a whole slate that we were supposed to go over. So
Umbrella.
I'm just gonna let that slide. Yeah. So I just talk about being all over the place. But back to the Shawscope land. We were talking about Jet Li. We were talking about, how this was one of his first movies. And I remember seeing Jet Li when I was, younger. I think I saw
Lethal Weapon 4.
I remember Kiss of the Dragon.
Yeah, Kiss of the Dragon.
2001.
The One.
That may have been the first film I saw. I've seen The One.
What's it? Romeo Must Die?
I remember when Romeo Must Die came out in theaters.
Yeah, I remember that.
I didn't see it, but I remember when it came out. Black Mask. I think was another one.
Lethal Weapon 4. Lethal Weapon 4 is where I saw him first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what, 98?
Yeah, his villain
I remember
role
when that
in
movie came out.
Yeah.
I remember seeing trailers for it. And then he's been in a bunch of movies ever since.
Hero's a big one.
I saw Hero in theaters actually. Back in 2002. It was the first movie I ever saw in theaters with subtitles.
Yeah. But just like Jackie Chan, Jet Li had a career before he came to America. And
yes, he did.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
A lot of good stuff over there. So maybe we're going to continue to see more Jet Li.
Well, he was in Once Upon a Time in China 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I have Eureka's set,
and I just bought the Criterion collection of all 5 of those movies.
Five, yeah.
Yeah, and he's not in 4 or 5.
No, he's only in the first 3. So I have the important ones.
I guess so. I guess I have them too, and then 2 extras.
Yeah.
I just bought that whole set because my Barnes and Noble, it's kind of limited when it came to box sets, and that was just one of them. And the spider wrapping was loose enough on them to where it wasn't creating any indentation. So I was like, oh, this is a sweet score. I'm never gonna find this again. I was like, whoever did this was slacking or knew what they were doing. One of the two. But back to this set. Let's hope they don't put the spider wrapping on this set at any Barnes and Nobles.
If I see spider wrap on a set, I'm just gonna go slap the first employee I see, and just assume that they did it.
I see them on every. They put the spider wrapping on the Bergman set, and I'm like, there's no way anyone's gonna walk out of this store with this gigantic Bergman set that weighs like 10 pounds, and you're not gonna notice.
I just don't understand.
No way.
I don't understand how they think that they can cause any anybody that's put that on there has worked there long enough to know that if they damage one of these expensive collectors things, nobody's gonna fucking buy it. Like
no one's gonna buy it, and you're just kind of. It's just going to sit there forever.
It's going to sit there. It's going to then eventually it's going to move behind the counter where nobody sees it, and it's.
Well, that's the same thing when it comes to just the small individual criterions. When the if the cover art is damaged, or if the wrapping is damaged, or if the box is damaged in any way, that thing's going to sit there forever. There's stuff at my Barnes Noble that's been sitting there forever because the disc is still like rattling around in there like a maraca.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just
So,
it's
you know,
just like
so
it's
I
rattling.
guess
It's like, no
we're
one's buying
speaking.
this.
I guess we're speaking for everybody. Some people probably don't care as much, but I think
No.
the wide majority are
But
not
there's,
going to
like-
buy that thing.
There is a copy of Dance Girl Dance at my Barnes Noble that's been there for since the movie came out, where the inner cover art is in such a way where it's like torn.
Yeah.
It's like wrinkled and torn, and it's moved that much, and it's like no one's gonna see this and buy it.
When I've been in my Barnes and Noble and I find a damaged edition, I
you
turn it
give it-
in. I
you
say,
turn it
hey,
in.
nobody's
You're
going to buy
you're a
this.
good person. See, I'm like I'm not like that. I don't like to talk to the.
See, I have a rapport with mine. The lady
okay.
talks with me about films we're going to buy. So
Nice.
yeah.
I used to have that because I used to know like some individuals who work there, but obviously over time, people move on to other things in life,
Sure.
and jobs and whatnot. Yeah, it's I know what you mean. That's actually good. That's good of you. Whatever they do with
I hope
it,
they
do
don't.
with
I
it.
hope they don't put it back on the shelf, which is
I
possible.
mean, yeah, they could.
But I just feel like I'm not going to buy this, and I'm not nearly as, I care, but I don't care that much. If it's just a little ding, like I can deal with it. But a lot of people really care about it being perfect, and I'm like, most of the time when I turn them in, I'm like, this is definitely not. Nobody's gonna buy this. Like, look at this. The cover art's wrinkled, or like, no, you're spending.
Yeah, these are not cheap.
They're not. They're $20 to $30. Like no.
Yeah, that's why when Amazon put like 8 of these in a bag, I was like, come on.
They're not thinking
Come on.
about that shit from Amazon.
It's a robot. I think it's just robots.
It's
doing it.
robots.
But back to the Shawscope set, which don't have robots in it.
It should.
I did get to watch I got to watch the 10 Tigers of Kwang Tung, and I got to watch Kid with the Golden Arm. Kid with the Golden Arm, I believe, is a Venom movie. Not what you're thinking, Steven.
Sure, like not fart in the wind, Venom.
No. I think it's Turd in the Wind.
Oh, turd in the wind.
Yeah. So the 5 Deadly Venoms, one of their more popular films. But then they also made like a bunch of other films with those characters in it, like a ton of them. And the Kid with the Golden Arm is one of them. And the Kid with the Golden Arm is, let me get the premise of this movie up because it's one of the later films because they made so many of them, and this was apparently one of the first time that they were able to get all of like the 6 Venom like actors together. Yeah, so this is called Director Chang Che reunites the 5 Venoms in his second biggest cult hit in the West. It's Lo Mang's most memorable performances, whose showdown with fellow Venom Kuo Chu is artistically violent while being graphically artsy. That's not a synopsis of a movie. That is just a review of the movie.
Yeah.
Is,
We don't want you to know about the movie.
yeah,
We just want you to know that it's
awful.
awesome.
I love it. It says "Be good or be dead!" Exclamation point.
Damn.
Jinbei Tong opens with a group of escorts/guards preparing to move a shipment of gold from the local government to an area stricken by famine. One of the very few Venom films where all 6 Venom's actors are present within a single film. That's kind of the genuine premise of the film. They're trying to move this gold from one place to another, and people are trying to like intercept it.
So
essentially
is
what
this
it is.
their Marvel Cinematic Universe movies?
Don't know. I'm trying to look up the Kid with the Golden Arm because if you go onto Wikipedia, there's a whole like list of like Venom movies, and there was way more of them than I predicted. Yeah, there's a ton of them, and there's like a whole like rotation of characters. In it, and it all starts with the 5 Venoms, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Kid with the Golden Arm is the 8th Venom film. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 Venom films that feature at least 3 of the Venoms in a starring role. From 1978 to 1982, there's 19 of those movies.
Jeez.
And then there are spin-off movies as well that are
Oh my God.
Venom-related films. And
Oh
there's
my
a bunch
God.
of those.
It is a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. But Magnificent Ruffians and Kid with the Golden Arm are Venom films.
Okay.
So you get 2 of those in here. Flag of Iron is a Venom film that was been put out on Blu-ray by 88 Films. 10 Tigers of Kwang Tung is a Venom film. That's also in this set as well. So you get three Venom films in this set. Yeah. So there's a lot in here. There's so much to go into when it comes to the Shaw Brothers, that these sets just scratch the very large surface of them.
Well, we're supposed to hopefully keep getting more sets, and
Yeah, and also you're getting also Shaw Brothers films from, like I said, 88 Films are putting them out. Eureka's putting out, I think, a lot of Golden Harvest stuff, which was kind of a rival studio running at the same time. So you're getting a lot of these. But yeah, this set is another massive set. But yet again, each of these discs are getting their own list of special features. I think all of them have at least 2 commentaries, like 1 per film, I hope. And then plus other stuff. And then you get the soundtracks at the end. Yet again, this is going to be the set of the year, I think, or one of them.
definitely one of them. I think there's maybe some rivals of some Severance put out some good sets this year, but I pre-ordered this last time, but it being that the first one's still in print, I don't think I'm gonna like jump on this like right now. I probably will either put in my order when it shows up to Orbit, or wait a little bit longer than that. We'll see. Maybe I'll give myself it as a Christmas present, or maybe I get somebody else to buy it for me.
I'll say, yeah, this is probably the best.
This could be a good Christmas present.
This is a great Christmas present to give yourself or someone else.
Expensive. I'm not buying this for anybody else. If I'm buying it, it's going to be for me. But I'm saying, I can get somebody. If somebody asks me, "Hey, Steven, what do you want for Christmas?" I could be like, "Give me this set," and then maybe they'll get it.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Maybe that's what they were thinking about, because the other set I think came out in early December.
Yeah,
Maybe I was a little too close to get things in for Christmas, especially with the way shipping will be during the holiday season. It may even be worse than in previous years.
Yeah.
So you never know just when you're going to get this in time or not. Like Steven just said, the first set's still available.
Yeah.
It's still available at our sponsor, OrbitDVD.com. It's still available in other places, like Amazon still has it. Diabolic may have it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You can still get it from Arrow directly.
And there's a US and a UK.
And a UK release.
But I think this set's actually region free.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I believe this.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So now.
But do you want to go over Umbrella really quick?
Yeah, we can go over it real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. It's only like
Umbrella
5 releases, right, or something like that?
Yeah, it's only 5 releases. So Umbrella squeaked in later on in the week, right past when this was kind of all dropping officially. So it kind of came a little bit under the radar. These are the October releases from Umbrella, right? Yes.
Yes.
And we're getting 5 films here. First up is Cloak and Dagger, which I'm pretty sure many people have gotten the Vinegar Syndrome release of that. We're getting...
Sons of Steel.
Sons of Steel. And Midnight Spares, right?
Yes.
Yes. Spotswood and Possessed.
Yep.
Now, Steven, have you gotten to see any of these yet?
Well, I finally got around to watching Cloak and Dagger for the first time.
What'd you think of Cloak and Dagger?
I enjoyed it. It's, it very much reminds me of even films that came out in the 90s where they were marketed as kids movies, but there's a lot of not kids stuff in it. People getting shot.
The themes.
The
and
themes.
The themes are very mature.
Very much about this kid who's longing to be closer to his father, and he has an imaginary friend who basically is his dad, just as a spy. It's good. I can't wait to get the Vinegar Syndrome version. I hate to say that. There's nothing wrong with this Umbrella edition, but that Vinegar Syndrome set is a little more
also, I'm pretty sure
enticing.
The Vinegar Syndrome is a 4K release.
It is a 4K release.
Yeah, well,
So
this is only a Blu-ray release.
yeah,
Yeah, and the Cloak and Dagger, it's a VSU release, expensive. There's still over 1,000
yeah,
copies
it's
available.
still in print for a while, so I'm not in a hurry, but it's definitely the edition I think I'll get over this edition.
No, very much so.
Which ha- which
And this is coming out with a special edition Cloak and Dagger collector's set. We
yeah,
do get a figurine, a CD soundtrack, 3D poster, and lobby cards. They're doing that similar with Midnight Spares as well, where you get a car emblem, a
yeah,
day bill, a comic book, a poster, and lobby cards. And Sons of Steel, you get a tote bag, a comic, a poster, postcards, and stickers. And then they have like the regular edition you can buy, where it's just the Blu-ray release.
yeah.
But Cloak and Daggers is a lot of fun. I know a lot of people growing up in the 80s really loved that movie. A lot of people probably growing up in the 90s really loved it too, who got to see it when they were younger. I only got to watch it when the Vinegar Syndrome edition was announced, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it as well. But what I also enjoyed a lot is I watched the movie Spotswood, also known as Efficiency Expert, and this is part of their Sunburnt Screens sub-label line. This is number 21 in that line, and I really like the Sunburnt Screens sub-label. And I watched Spotswood because it's the same director, Mark Jaffe, who did the movie Cosi, which was also part of this Sunburnt Screens line as well. That was a film he had done later on with some of the same actors in this film. And this is a stacked cast in this movie, a young stacked cast, mind you. Well, Anthony Hopkins being a veteran, obviously, at this time. This was done, I think, 1992, and wasn't Silence of the Lambs 91?
Yeah.
So this was the movie that came out right after that. So starring Anthony Hopkins, a very young Ben Mendelsohn, very young Tony Collette, and a very young Russell Crowe. Like pre-romper stomper Russell Crowe. He looks so young in this. This came out in 92. And this film is about this small town moccasin company where they make moccasins, like this factory. And Anthony Hopkins is this efficiency expert who's brought in to kind of, check the expenses, check the finances, and see if they can make this company run better financially wise. And he has to come up with like solutions and whatnot. He's one of the he's like a straight laced, guy or whatever. And he's coming into this small town filled with kind of these eccentric type characters at this factory. And he's coming up with these ways that he has to make this factory survive, and it's harsh ways where it's like you've got to cut like half the people working here. You've got to change this up, change that up. And he's coming to realizations where saying these things would help this company, but also like the lives of these people rely on this company. It's one of those where everyone in this town works at this factory or else they don't work at all. It's one of those situations. So he has to come to these kind of humanistic realizations that, it's about people rather than numbers,
Yeah.
Ben Mendelsohn's a young person who works at this factory who kind of gets taken under the wing of Anthony Hopkins to help him kind of figure that out. Tony Collette is kind of his best friend, like next door neighbor. Like they ride their bikes to work every day together, and it's one of those where like they should be together, but they're not together because they're quote unquote friends, but they're eventually probably going to end up together. One of those things, Stephen.
Gross.
But meanwhile, he's fixated on the boss's daughter, who's very attractive, and all the men want her, and she's like going to be a model or something like that. But he has to come to the realization that Tony Collette's probably the one for him. He's got to wake up and realize these things. And yeah, Russell Crowe is kind of this young, asshole-ish, brash.
Really?
Seller.
That's
I think he's the person who's he's like a seller, of these moccasins at stores and stuff or whatnot like that. He's kind of just an asshole in the movie. He's bullying around Ben Mendelsohn's character and whatnot. I enjoyed the movie. It's a little slow, maybe a little not exciting for people, but I rather enjoyed it a lot. It is streaming, I think right now on YouTube. I think is where I watched it. But this Blu-ray is going to look, I'm assuming, much, much better. I think I may get this to kind of pair it up with Cosi because it's the same director, and I like to do stuff like that.
Yes, you do.
And I like this. I like seeing the young actors, I like seeing actors in their younger versions before they became famous to see what they were up to. It's kind of cool to see young Ben Mendelsohn. It really is. Before he's kind of like yelling in Star Wars, I like to see him like be more of a character actor. you know. So that's Spotswood. Now, Steven, I got a movie for you.
No, you don't.
Sons of Steel. 19. Let me put it to you. Let me set the stage for you. 1988. This is part of their Beyond Genres sub-label line, number 23. A film directed by, what's that, Gary L. Keaty? This film is a time-traveling dystopian film with rock opera elements in it.
This
Now,
seems
I'm
like
pitching that to you.
This seems like up my alley. Yeah.
Yeah, the music in this movie is amazing.
Okay.
It's that 80s metal rock awesomeness. The premise of this film is wildly ridiculous. This rocker guy named Black Alice, who is a world famous like hair metal leader of a band or whatever, he gets digitized into a digital form, transported into the future by like this mad scientist guy, and he ends up getting transported to this dystopian future where apparently like some bomb went off to destroy the Sydney Opera House and kind of sent Australia into this dystopian wild Mad Max type world. So he's got to figure out how that happened, and he's got to go back in time to his original where he was to figure out how to stop that. But meanwhile, he's going to break into these kick-ass awesome rock opera songs throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie.
You know, it's funny.
It's called Sons of Steel.
This movie, it gives me a little bit of what's that movie? The Nazi movie, Iron Skies.
Okay.
Vibe.
Okay.
You know, like just the look of it. You know, it's got that little bit of, futuristic, World War II look to it. I don't know why.
It's so low budget that it couldn't even do that if it tried. It's so low budget that it's like I don't even think it could do that. It's one of those wildly bad movies that's also somehow incredibly entertaining.
So Flash Gordon.
that's
So
what
Flash
makes
Gordon.
It's similar in that vein, but it's so less polished than that. It's so like you could tell it was completely low budgeted.
What about Legend? Like Legend?
No, it's not even. It's even worse than that. It's like, oh man, it reminded me a lot of the Return of Captain Invincible.
Oh, really?
In that same type of weirdness, but even more lower budgeted than that. Like you got to see some of these sets, and it like when they get to like the dystopian future, people are wearing like loincloths and like running around in sewers. It's just wild. Wildly entertaining though.
Okay.
But just the whole rock opera aspect of it is, I think, what you would dig because the music's amazing.
Okay.
So that's Sons of Steel, appropriately titled. But I didn't get to see Midnight Spares, and I didn't get to see Possession. I think Possession is actually a modern movie. It came out in 2021. And then Midnight Spares is part of their Ozploitation line, number 19.
I watched about 45 minutes of it.
Oh.
And it's like...
How'd it go?
Kind of boring. It's trying to... It's like almost like... And as soon as I thought this, I read somebody else compare it the same way. It's kind of like Gone in 60 Seconds.
The Nick Cage film?
Yeah, it's like Gone in 60 Seconds, Australian version, but... where the characters are also like the main characters are like race car drivers and not just criminals, like they're not just stealing cars and selling them or whatever, they're also race car drivers. They're using it to they're stealing part of it's about, the racing game. But, there's also a lot of relationships, drama in there that's kind of feels unnecessary. Like
I was almost going to compare it to Fast and
I was gonna say you could even say it's Gone in 60 Seconds meets Fast and the Furious, but boring.
Yeah, they're criminals, but they're also, I mean, at least the early films in that.
The first one, you mean?
Yeah, the first film
where they
actually
actually like
the criminals.
raced, and it was like about racing and cars, and like I guess the second one has a little bit of that in there.
You know, I saw Too Fast and Furious in theaters back in
I
like
think
'02.
I've probably seen all of the Fast except
Is
the
it
most
'02?
recent
When
couple.
When did that come out?
2002,
I think the original came out. Or was it, did it come out before then? Hold on. Too Fast.
2001.
2003.
Three?
I was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
That was the one directed by the late, great John Singleton. That's the one that didn't have Vin Diesel in it. Because he was like, I'm too big for this. I'm going to go make Triple X movies, I guess.
Yeah, Triple
whatever the
X.
heck he was going to do.
Them
Or he made
fucking
Chronicles of Riddick.
Triple X. That new last one they made.
I know you're the only one I know who's actually seen it.
I've seen it, and it's the worst thing. One of the
The Return
It's
of
one of the
Xander
most
Cage.
laughable things I've ever seen. Like seeing Vin Diesel, which it's not really Vin Diesel, but seeing his character
Stunt double.
skateboard down a hill and like do like he like scales a bus that's moving on the road. And I'm like, this is the most stupidest shit I've ever seen. Like, he's like a kid. He's like one of the kids from Rocket Power, just shooting down the road, and like, zzz, and then he like has this scene where he's surrounded and he starts doing some dance. Which can you imagine Vin Diesel suddenly popping into dance? It's weird, right? It's because it doesn't make sense. And
I just remember seeing the original Triple X. I think that may have been one of the first DVDs I ever had because it came out in 2002. And I remember watching that quite a few times. And I never saw the sequel.
Yeah, the one with Ice Cube in it.
They replaced Vin Diesel with Ice Cube. And I just remember the 2000s had a lot of like extreme sports types of movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whether it be like you said, skateboarding or even like skiing or motocross type of stuff or really fast cars or something like that. It was always like extreme type of movement, type of traveling. And I just think of Triple X when I think of that. And then like you're saying here that this movie is kind of
it's
like
got a little bit of that in
of
there,
that
but it's
similar type of stuff.
It's that from what I watched, it has a little bit too much of that dramatic relationshipy stuff. Not dramatic, but just a little bit too much of that kind of, the main character and this girl he's with, like a little bit too much of that in the movie, and not enough action.
Gotcha.
And the action they have is like them in race cars going around in circles, which I already don't care about NASCAR. It's not NASCAR; it's a different style of racing, but it's still I don't need to see that on film, and the way they shoot it ain't that exciting. So I don't know that this is one of their better releases through this label. But
exploitation.
Yeah, I don't think it's one of their better.
I know there are a lot of people who collect the whole exploitation line. They do look great on the shelf. I'll say that.
I'm sure they do.
I do like a lot of these exploitation classics. I've been getting into a lot of them, especially when it comes to the releases. And just Australian film in general. I think we've talked a lot about it, whether it be through mostly Umbrella, but a lot through Imprint as well. It's fascinating to me, just kind of exploring that type of culture and world and whatnot. I may check this out. I'm kind of interested in it.
It's on YouTube. Go for it.
Yeah, I know Spotswood I think is on there as well. Sons of Steel, you may be able to find some on YouTube, but there's like a German VHS rip on there that's like it doesn't even start out the way the movie starts out, so they may be cut down. I don't know. Just be wary of those things. When people upload movies to places like YouTube and whatnot, sometimes they're not in the correct aspect ratio, one, and sometimes they're not even the correct runtime. Like when I was looking up some stuff, there was one movie that had like 15 minutes cut out of it, and I was like, that's not credits. There's no way there's 15 minutes of credits here.
Well, we talked about
cut
it.
out something.
Yeah, we talked about it a few episodes ago when we watched that Flicker Alley release. That was it, The Silent.
Oh,
the Silent?
On you watched it on
Amazon
Prime?
Yeah,
and they had a weird runtime for it.
it was missing like 30 minutes.
Yeah, which is baffling to me. It's like where did you get this cut from? I know public domain and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that's the dangerous thing when a lot of these movies end up in the public domain. You don't know what happens to them. I didn't know this. This is completely random, Steven. You got to cut me off.
Uh-oh.
From like 1974 to like 1993, It's a Wonderful Life was in the public domain.
Huh.
And that's why so many people saw it growing up, being aired like on TV all the time. Because whoever was in charge of renewing the license for that in the 1970s didn't do it. So it was in the public domain for nearly 20 years.
Huh.
And then it obviously, they who has it now? Warner Brothers? Somebody has the rights back to it. And yeah, I did not know that. So that's why like that movie's so well known like after it came out, was because it was in the public domain and anyone could show it anywhere at any time. and you didn't have to own the rights to it at all. Paramount I think owns it now, or reacquired it back, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, found that interesting.
Cool.
Just talking about that little fact there. But yeah, that's everything, Steven, when it comes to the week in Blu-ray announcements that was, for the most part. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff. The bigger releases or the smaller releases, a lot of these are going to end up in people's collections sometime soon.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's it for this week. Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Twitter or our Instagram. You can check me out at my Letterboxd at Chasing Labels. You can also find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.